Namami Bhagavatpadam Śaṅkaram Lokashaṅkaram Śaṅkaram Śaṅkaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaika Murtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Vyasa Śaṅkara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In examining what is to be gained, what is sadhya vastu, by the sadhaka, the one who wants to achieve that, some means are used called sadhana. Clearly, a basic assumption is what is to be achieved is understood. If the person has a goal of, let us say, winning an Olympic medal, this may not fit as a sadhana. This is sadhana for a mumukshu, one who understands that while all the other goals are okay, my real goal is moksha. Whatever happens in between is just by the way, subservient to that one purushartha. Clearly, not everybody would have that clarity of mumukshutva. Even if one doesn't have the clarity, you look back on the times when Śaṅkaracharya was writing these, the whole society was geared to allow every individual to set his or her goal as moksha. Language was that, the living styles were there. Even the varna and ashrama were designed so that the society supports every individual by creating this varna, maximizing what the society can offer to the individual who goes through the ashrama, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa, so that every single individual in the society can aim for moksha as the purushartha. Even if many don't understand what it is, the structure was such, the scheme of things was such that it permitted everybody, even without clearly knowing that moksha is what I want, just a vague notion that there is something bigger to be achieved, even for them, it allowed them the freedom to go in that direction. And they were willing to accept what the Shruti says and what the wise men in the society, which include perhaps their own parents and grandparents, tell them about how to live life. So anybody in the society could use this as a sadhana for that goal of moksha. So that is one assumption that Acharya makes, that people are working towards moksha, and therefore the sādhanaṃ is perfectly set for that. If somebody says, I want to gain $1 million, this may not be the best sadhana. There are other sadhana which are more appropriate for that. So one assumption he makes is about the fact that everybody is working, anybody who studies this is working towards moksha, is a mumukshu. And also the assumption is that people who follow the sadhana are people who understand the samanya dharma. This will specify what you're supposed to do at various points in your life, as we discussed in the last class. But the assumption is that a person will follow samanya dharma. And taking from Swami Paramartha's definition of what these samanya dharma are, he said there are 5 things you must avoid and 5 things you must positively do. You remember that? We said ahimsa. Himsa has to be avoided completely. Himsa meaning to any being, another human being, animal, plants, any being. This is very clear. Ahimsa, paramo dharma. In fact, most of the others follow from here. That ahimsa, therefore, is the primary one of the samanya dharma. No himsa to any being. Anritam. Knowingly do not tell a lie. These are general samanya dharma. I know this is true, but I still say otherwise. Anritam. Sometimes these are samanya dharma. Occasionally, you will have an exceptional situation. Then it becomes vishesha dharma in that situation. We have many examples. A teacher or a parent correcting a child punishes the child. In some form, we call it causing himsa to the child. But the purpose is a larger good. A doctor amputates a foot because it got gangrene. Also himsa. But for a larger good. Exceptional situations. Similarly, knowingly you tell a lie. Exceptional situations are there. My favorite examples, of course, then that one elderly aunt comes on your birthday, comes and gives you a tie. Very lovingly, she's gone and selected the tie and given you a gift. You open the box, one look at it, say, my God, this tie I will never wear. But is that what you tell her? Exceptional circumstances. Asteyam, not hankering after somebody else's property. Stena is a thief. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, he who eats without offering to Ishvara is a thief. Stena eva saha, stena eva saha. Do not avoid taking somebody else's property. Mithunam. Mithunam is illegitimate relationship with somebody of the other sex. Avoid. Aparigraham. Taking more than you really need. A form of greed is also something to be avoided. Hoarding. Swami G used to talk about some sannyasi in Rishikesh who likes to hoard tin cans. Dalda tin, some other tin. So when he died, I believe his kutia was full of some tins or the other. Hoarding anything which you don't need. Very common thing we do. Somebody came up with a rule. If you have in the house anything which you've not used for 6 months, please give it away. So these are 5 things to be avoided. And there are 5 things that Swamiji has listed as things to be positively done. Shaucham. Maintaining both internal and external purity. Cleanliness. External purity, cleanliness is as important. One of the biggest problems we have in India is that somehow I keep my house clean. What happened to the next fellow is not my problem. Recently, we put in some direction boards to come to Arshavidyalaya. And one of them somebody had torn away. So we got another one printed and I wanted to fix it on the board. I was there, the 2 little boys came and they did a nice job. There was a peel off at the back, they peeled it off, stuck it nicely. So I told them, he was throwing it there. I said, please don't throw it here, take it away and on the way, put it in the waste bin. He said, yes, Swamiji, and then went away. Next day when I was going for a walk, I found 50 yards from that, he's thrown it away and gone. That is an attitude. I was imagining, would you do it in the house if we eat banana and then throw the peel in the house itself? It is something that probably needs to be developed. So these are all assumptions that it makes. Santoshaha. A certain sense of contentment. I want will push. That doesn't mean that one doesn't strive for bigger things. Related in a sense to Karma Yoga. Certain discipline, tapas. This tapas could also include one's own examination of one's control over one's own senses. Making sure that I have total control. That discipline is maintained. Svadhyayanam. Study of one's own scriptures. Acharya will talk about this also. And Ishvara recognition. a very first starting point for recognizing that much of what happens is not my doing. These are the 5 don'ts and do's that are assumed that the person has. Essentially, what it's saying is that a person lives within a sense of dharma. Without that dharma, all the sadhana becomes useless. So that is the other big assumption that Acharya makes in writing this Sādhana Pañcakaṃ. And this sadhana, a path, a line of action, which will lead one to mokṣā. Very beautifully written. We hear this every class. Thanks to Bhunaja and Surya, they've also chanted it very nicely. You can see that the beauty of it even as you chant or you hear the chanting. Any good stotra you will see has this. Fact is that in Sanskrit writing of these, there are very strict rules which you need to follow. That's why they flow so easily when you chant them. Bhagavad Gita flows so easily when you chant. Every text has that is part of the study that you make. The meter, Niruktam. Very detailed laws are there on how you should write. Bhujangam, for example, one of them. It's supposed to move like a snake, even as you chant. So Brahmani Bhujangam, Shankaracharya has written. So here you will see Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam Tadudidam Karma Swarushthiyatam. Just the flow is there. And all of them have similar tam ending. You know, the verbs which in the form of a lot lakara. Lot lakara means may it be done like this. You can say, may you do it like this, but here it is given in the passive voice. All of them. Karmani lot. May you do it like this. May it be done by you like this, more than that. Even as we read these verses, we will see how beautifully it fits. This Sādhana Pañcakaṃ is also called Sopāna Pañcakaṃ. Sopāna means flight of stairs. There are 40 steps in this, divided into 5 verses of 8 steps each. Very nicely it takes us from brahmacharya to grihastha to vanaprastha to sannyasa and then eventually to mokṣā. Sopāna Pañcakaṃ. So we can appreciate the beauty of the construction of this sutra. In fact, every single one that Śaṅkara has written is worth reading for the beauty of its construction, as well as for the beauty of the word, the way words have been used in Sanskritam. So those of you who are studying Sanskritam will enjoy that even more. So that is the background to this Sādhana Pañcakaṃ. A Panchakam, 5 verses, which is a sadhanam for gaining the sadhya vastu by the sadhaka. Let's just chant the first verse and then we'll take up the meaning. It will not be as nice as the way it was chanted by these people, but we'll just simple chanting. Vedo nityam adhiyatam. A few of you can unmute, so I know that you're chanting. Vedo nityam adhiyatam.
Vedo nityam adhiyatam.
Taduditam karma svanushthiyatam.
Taduditam karma svanushthiyatam.
Teneshasya vidhiyatam.
Teneshasya vidhiyatam.
Apachitihi kamye matityajyatam.
Apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam.
Papaugha paridhuyatam.
Papaugah paridhuyatam.
Avasukhe dosho nusandhiyatam.
Bhavasuke dosho nusandhiyatam.
Atmecha vyavasiyatam.
Atmecha vyavasiyatam.
Nijagruhat turnam vinirgamyatam.
Nijagrihat turnam vinirgamyatam.
The first verse, this covers 2 stages of life. Brahmacharya and Grihastha. How should one tackle life as a brahmachari? A brahmachari is one who focuses entirely on study. Brahmachari sometimes we think is an unmarried person. That's also true. But one who focuses on studies, whose entire focus of that period in life is on studies, not on anything else. What should he or she do? Vedo nityam adhiyatam. They must study the Veda nityam. Nityam has several meanings. It can mean always. It can mean daily. It can also mean regularly. One's own Veda, one has to study regularly. You know, Vedas initially, before Veda Vyasa's time, were scattered all over the place. And Veda Vyasa collected all of them and collated them and divided them into 4 Vedas. To pick up these scattered Vedas and read and understand was not so easy. So each family adopted one Veda. And they started doing adhyayanam every day of the Veda. We will see what adhyayanam is. Therefore, each one had one own Veda to study. As you know, the Veda has 2 components to it. Broadly speaking, there is one component which is called Karma Kanda, which is the largest portion of it, a huge portion. And there is an end portion, every Veda has this, called Vedanta. The Karma Kanda defines ways and means. What one should do and what one should not do, what one should do and how one should do it, for what end. All that it declares. A huge portion. And to make sure that one understands this, you start by simply chanting it regularly. This method is valid even today. I don't know if you all remember in school, when you started learning tables. How did you start learning tables? In Delhi, they would sing it. Do duni char, do tiya che, do chakya. It'll go like us. We all did this. In Tamil we did that. In English we did that. What did the child understand? Nothing. But the whole thing got embedded in the system. And later, child had no difficulty recollecting any portion of that. A very good system. Today, people who want to learn Bhagavad Gita, it's the same method, the best method. Chant every day. And as you chant more and more and more and more, and simultaneously start understanding what each verse says, the meaning will start jumping out at you. So one step of the process is simply chanting over and over and over again till it automatically gets into the buddhi. There is no conscious effort to memorize, but it happens automatically. So every family would take their own Veda and chant over and over and over again every time. So they knew the entire, and Vedas are quite bulky. And they would chant, and therefore Vedas had a specific method of chanting. You had to chant in a certain way. Because you're communicating this only through the oral method. Everything had to be very accurate. The whole phonetics was a very, very important part of this learning. In Sanskrit, even today, phonetics is critical. If you pronounce one letter wrongly, you could get a diametrically opposite meaning. Kumbhakarna is an example. Every family would recite this, and every sadhaka must recite his or her own Veda and eventually know it by heart. Some families knew more than one Veda, three Vedas, all four Vedas. So you have somebody in your ancestry who studied all the four Vedas, probably came down for a few generations. Today, nobody remembers anything of that, but it's still called Chaturvedi or Chattopadhyaya in Bengal. Even if it doesn't know the Veda today. Some effect will be there, I guess. Similarly, you have people who call Agnihotri. They may or may not even know the meaning of Agnihotri, Agnihotra. But somebody in the family has been doing Agnihotra regularly, therefore the name just comes down. Like you have somebody who's called a soda bottle opener wala. He may not be a soda bottle opener wala today. He is probably producing films or doing something else. But somebody in the family started that business, so it came down. Even today, he's called soda bottle opener wala. So this daily adhyayanam is to be done by the sadhaka. Adhyayanam includes, one is simple chanting. The other is, as you chant more and more and more, an analysis of that Veda. is also part of Adhyayanam. Like I said, this happens quite easily. People who have been chanting Bhagavad Gita for a length of time will testify that they begin to understand what it's saying. Words start to make sense. It will happen in the Vedas also. When children went to Gurukulam to learn the Vedas, and this is the system there was, we had these Gurukulams in every village, a cluster of villages, there was a Gurukulam. And there was a Guru. They would go to the Gurukulam and they would learn the Vedas. Not only just the Veda, this is all part of the Brahmacharya. All this is implied meaning in this one simple phrase. Vedo nityam adhiyatam. Because they learnt not only the Veda, they learnt all the Vedanga. Diksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Jyotisha, all of them, all 6 of them. And in the process, remember, what we think of as science today and mathematics today and geography today, or even cosmology today, are all there in the Veda. So they learnt a lot even as they studied their own Veda. What else did they learn? Remember, this is full-time learning they did at that time. They're not directly relevant today, but we understand what the basis was. Depending upon their own guna and karma, and therefore what they're going to be doing in the society, they also learned relevant arts and science. A person who was a kshatriya, a protector, an administrator, also learned the skill sets required for that. He learned archery, martial arts of various kinds. Whereas a person who is a Vaishya learned what is equivalent in today's world of double entry accounting, ledgers, cash balances, whatever it is. So the relevant other science and arts related to their guna and their karma, also everybody learned. By spending time focused on this learning, they were able to learn all of this, and when they went into the society, they were already prepared for contributing to the society. There the varna in terms of karma comes into play. Whether they become a brahmana and therefore become teachers, or they become kshatriyas, become administrators, or vaishyas, become agriculturists and traders, or shudras, all the supporting functions. This somehow looking down upon Shudra is not in this at all. It's something that has come about much later. There is no upper caste, lower caste. Nowhere in the text do you read anything which says upper caste, lower caste. Like our news readers even today talk about this. One upper caste fellow killed one lower caste fellow. Who gave you this? Each one had a duty to maximize the benefit to the society. to enable the society to create conducive conditions for everybody to gain moksha. Ultimate goal is clear. When you say Vedaha Nityam Adhiyatam, it includes all this. That one, as a student, as a brahmachari, studies all this. Swami, all this is irrelevant today. How do I understand it? How do I take it as my sadhana? Should I go back to my, I know I'm from Krishna Yajurveda. How do you know? Because I do Abhivadaye, Angirasa Bharat, Yajushyakhar, Adhyayi. People who have Upanayinam, they do this Namaskaram by saying Abhivadaye. Therefore, I know I come from that. Should I go back and pick up the whole Yajurveda and read it? Not relevant in today's world, not practical in today's world. So what should I do? One wonderful option is available to us. Bhagavad Gita is also considered an Upanishad. To read the entire Veda is going to be difficult. But reading 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita is possible. So Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam, I would say, why don't we say we read Bhagavad Gita every day? As a sankalpa to oneself. One, chant the Bhagavad Gita as often as you can. Swami, I just don't get the time. One of the most common reasons for not doing something that we think we should do. I've told some of you of the story of a Swami Damodarananda. He said to himself, he's going to be when he joined Ramakrishna Mission as a brahmachari. He said, I must read the Bhagavad Gita every day. But because his brahmachari duties were so heavy that he had no time during the day to read Gita. So he would try and read at night. But before he could read a few chapters, he would go to sleep. He was so tired. But his commitment was so strong that he said, he told me the story himself. He used to stand and read the Bhagavad Gita. So he won't go to sleep. Commitment. Bhagavad Gita is a wonderful thing to do. You can't read the whole Veda, but certainly Bhagavad Gita reading is a possibility. So everyone should learn to chant the Bhagavad Gita first. And then begin to understand what the Bhagavad Gita says. It is a gist of all the Upanishads. Drawn from there only. In fact, many verses are taken directly from the Upanishads. So Vedaha Nityam Adhiyatam. One's own Veda, one has to study, analyze. Does not stop us from studying mathematics or any other subject. Like I said, even the Gurukulam, one studied all the subjects that were relevant to that person. So it is not an exclusive thing that I only study the Veda, don't study anything else. Everything has to be studied. So I can continue to study what I am doing. I'm specializing in statistics, so I do all the basics and learn very high level of statistics, but I still do Veda Adhyanam. And a simple solution to how to do the Veda Adhyanam is to do Bhagavad Gita Adhyanam. So the first step is that. The first step to in this 40-step sadhana is Nitya Veda Adhyayanam. We have a solution also for modern day Adhyayanam. Then what? Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam Tad Uditam Karmasvanushthiyatam. Veda tells you to do certain karma. There are some 4 types of karma are there. Veda Vihita karma, what the Veda tells you to do. Veda Nisheda karma, what Veda says don't do. Kamya karma, it may nothing to do with the Veda, but because I want it, I want to do certain karma. And also karma for negating a karma I have done earlier. Prayashchitta karma. I did something which I should not have done, therefore prayashchitta karma. Here, Acharya is talking about Veda Vihita karma. Just now you said, Swami G, that in today's world I can't read all the Vedas, then how do I know what is Vihita karma, what is not Vihita karma? Veda specifies karma at different stages of one's life. Since those stages themselves have got mixed up, that may be difficult to do. How do I know what is the karma I should do? We will look at it like this in every step. There are certain sadhana which has been given, we understand that, and then we say, what is it that I can do in today's world? Veda gives specific karma to be done. Since I don't today study the Veda, even if I'm called Chaturvedi, I don't know what it says. What karma should I do? 2 types of things we can look at. Veda specifies that everybody must do Pancha Yajna, Mahayajna. So in our own activities, we can look at that and see if we can do all the 5. Pancha Mahayajna. One is called Deva Yajna. Deva Yajna is worship to Ishvara can be called Deva Yajna. Any worship you do to any form of Deva goes only to Ishvara. That also Bhagavan has said in the Bhagavad Gita. We will see that every one of these has direct reference in the Bhagavad Gita. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta. As long as they do it with sincerity to any Deva, it goes only to Ishvara. Pitru Yajna. Pitru to ancestors. There are certain specified yajna we are supposed to do. Tarpana. Regularly is supposed to do. There is a system behind it. When the jiva leaves the sharira, it's expected to go into another loka, gain another sharira, go to another loka, and maybe even come back to this loka, martya loka. But in the process of its travel called sadgati, it needs assistance. And the children are the ones who are supposed to do that by doing that yajna. Shraddham, tarpanam are meant to help them go along in the right direction. You heard of the word Trisangu? They could be hanging, nowhere to go, if that support is not there. And these yajnas are meant to show one's gratitude. One's existence is dependent upon one's own ancestors. Today may not have existed, the ancestors is not there. They may not know what to do, but they are the hetu. Amitabh Bachchan, once I saw a small clip. He apparently didn't get a job after graduation. He and a few friends. They were very frustrated. So one of them said, "Why the heck did my father produce me?" They were very angry with the father. But also part of that, he went to his father and asked him, "Why did you produce me? I'm frustrated. I'm so troubled." Father didn't answer him that time. Later in the night, he wrote a small poem for him. His father is a Harvansh Rai Bachchan. I don't know if you know. Poet, Hindi poet. I don't remember the full poem, but he said something like, "My son comes and asks me, why did I produce him? I have no answer to that. But I only will tell him that my father didn't know why he produced me, and his father didn't know why he produced him. Before you produce your son, please take his permission." He wrote a poem, I believe. We very existence we owe to our ancestors. So Pitru Yajna becomes part of the Panchayajna. Then Brahma Yajna, also called Rishi Yajna. Prayer to the Vedas. Accepting Vedas as the pramana for the ultimate goal, mokṣā. Rishi Yajna. Manushya Yajna. Recognizing that the whole humanity is interdependent and being supportive of all of the humans in whichever way one can. Therefore, outreach karma to help others. Manushya Yajna. And the fifth is called Bhuta Yajna. Bhuta Yajna is for all other bhutas. You can look at other bhutas as other beings as well as the Pancha Mahabhutas. The environment, which will now become a hot topic of discussion, climate change, that, this, and the other, is specified in the Shastra. In fact, somebody told me, I have not read this myself, somebody told me that it is a duty of every human being to plant and nurture at least 5 ficus trees in his or her lifetime. What a beautiful concept. You don't only destroy, you also build. these Panchamahayajnas, one can do as in the place of Veda Uditam Karma. If one can follow, wonderful. There are people who follow those karma also. As a brahmachari, there are certain specified karmas like Sandhya Vandanam. As a grihastha, certain karma are prescribed. One can do it, wonderful. One can't. This Mahayajna is a very good way of looking at it. Karma can also be seen as duty. Our whole society was a duty-bound society. I do this because it's my duty. And because I do this, and because everyone does his or her duty, the whole chakra continues. Recognizing that my duty, however small it might look, is an important cog in the whole of the Mahayajna. I play many roles, and in each role I have a script which gives you my duty, will give me my duty. And nobody has to teach me that. So that's another way of looking at this Veda Udita karma. I therefore do karma which I have to do. This was considered so important. Again, you go back to the Bhagavad Gita, Evam Pravartitam Chakram, third chapter. The whole chakram, whole yajna that is happening in the Jagat, I have a contribution to make in that. If I don't do my part, I'm not doing the right thing. What is the philosophy instead today? It's called WIIFM. Have you heard of that? What is in it for me? That is what everybody is looking at. I remember when I was very young, I heard John Kennedy saying, ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. Remove country and put society, it works. There's a beautiful word in Sanskritam called subhiksha. And Swami G explained this word. In any group of people, when everybody contributes more than he or she consumes, there is subhiksha in that society, in that group. Beautiful concept. These days, if you go attend management lectures, they will talk to you about emotional surplus. This is creating surplus. If everybody has clear idea that this is my role, my karma to be done, and I have to do it without saying WIIFM. That society, the closest word in English we can get is a prosperous society. You apply it anywhere. You apply it in a company. If everybody does his or her role and contributes more than he or she consumes, that company will be a prosperous company. Apply to a nation. Apply to a family. there is contribution from every individual. Contribution need not necessarily mean material terms. If everybody contributes more than he or she consumes, and this will happen when the society is duty-bound society, done because it's my duty to do. This is the way society was structured at one time. Maybe it will come back to that sometime or the other. We hope. And this is the kind of thing that we could be teaching the world. About how subhiksha can be gained by any society. And not look at what is in it for me. So, Veda Nityam Adhiyatam. May one study, understand, analyze one's own Veda regularly. And we have, for our own convenience, said, let us do at least the Bhagavad Gita. I can tell you this. If somebody chants the Bhagavad Gita every day, I don't know if any of us tried this, there is a sense of completeness that you get, which almost nothing else can give you. Even when in the Ekadashi Paranam we do, well, everybody gets together, and now, of course, we can't do it till the lockdown is over. Everybody used to chant that 18 chapters together. Believe you me, at the end of the thing, the energy, the feeling that one got at the end of it was something that one would have to experience. So one can do it within one's family, by oneself. Vedo nityam adhiyatam. And also make effort to understand what it says. So repeated adhyayanam in terms of parayanam, and an effort to understand the meaning. Then tadidudam karmas anushthiyatam. Not to follow, to discharge whatever that tells you. So here you can look at Bhagavad Gita itself as the Bhagavad Gita is one of the texts which gives you clearly how one should conduct one's life. Chapter 2, 3 are all completely that. And if one can follow that and also examine one's own activities during one's own life and see how much of the Pancha Mahayajnas I am really doing. Probably be a wonderful exercise to do. Deva Yajna, Rishi Yajna, Pitri Yajna, Manushya Yajna, and Bhuta Yajna. So in two parts of one line, Acharya is already Purnamudate Purnamada Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Hari Om.